Welcome to Amish Roots. Thank you for joining me. Our house on the farm holds many memories for me. As a child growing up in an Amish home with 13 in the house, you would think this would be major chaos. That's not how I remember it. Our big brick house that was part of our 100-acre farm was painted white. I'm not sure why anyone would go to the trouble of painting a huge 2-story house rather than leaving it as brown brick. Maybe it was the fashion at the time. Not that the Amish of my day were concerned with fashion. I like to tell people that I was quite privileged early in life because I grew up in the White House. Let's see you trump that. The house had a large kitchen, which was called the Keech. Did not have many conveniences. I remember it had 2 kitchen cabinets and a wash sink, and did not have running water. Our dinnerware and pots were stored in the cabinets, and we did dishes in a huge dishpan of water which we heated on the stove that we set in the sink with a drain rack. We did not get actual kitchen cupboards until I was about 8, and my dad built them as he was quite handy at woodworking. On the main floor, we also had a stove, which is a living room, a kammer, which is the bedroom my parents slept in, a sun porch, and a Amish House, which means wash house. This room held our wringer washing machine, a hand pump that was used to get water from the basement cistern, and a kettle stove that was used to heat water for laundry and bathing. There was also a pantry that had a door to the kitchen and one to go to the cellar. There were 2 other rooms, but those belonged to my grandpa, who lived with us until he passed away. Upstairs, there were 7 bedrooms, so you would think that would be enough room to house 10 other people. However, one of those rooms was set aside to store my aunt's stuff, and another was used for a dish room, which we called the chair comer. The chair comer was where we stored dishes and treasures that were given to us so that we could start our dowries for our marriages, or as our parents hoped, at the very least, move out and start our own homes. One of the other rooms was simply called the junk room and does not need an explanation. So, that left 4 rooms to use for sleeping. Needless to say, no one had their own room. The basement was quite large, but was used for everything from storing our canned goods, extra supplies, and firewood for the 2 wood stoves and wood furnace that heated our house. Now, I use the word heated quite loosely because there were many winters where it was extremely cold and snowy, and our house was not draft-proof. Some winters, we closed the doors of the bedroom and living room on the main floor so that there was less house to heat. These 2 rooms often got so cold we could use them as a makeshift freezer. Well, until the weather warmed up. It was also not unusual for our windows to be frosted over, and we had to scratch the ice and snow off to look outside. Upstairs, we shivered until we climbed underneath the warm feather ticks on our beds. Feather ticks are best described as a modern-day comforter. Our mom sewed 2 large pieces of cloth together, and it was then stuffed with feathers. In the winter at our house, you would not go to sleep without one. In fact, by morning, we were so cozy, we would grab our clothes and stockings and get dressed under the blankets. It was always a pleasant feeling when we raced downstairs to the warmth of the kitchen. In an Amish house, the kitchen is the hub of all activity. It is the first place everyone gathers in the morning to start their day, and it is the last place to be packed up and tidied for the night. Cooking, baking, and canning were all learnt in my mother's kitchen. The kitchen table was also the place we children sat to do our school homework, whether it was before we had to start making supper or after the dishes were done. We even had a couch in the kitchen, That is where the younger children liked to sit and read, so that we did not miss out on any of the chatter from our elder siblings as they went about their tasks. We found out lots of interesting stuff by staying quiet with our nose in a book. And trust me, it wasn't always the book that told the best stories. At our house, the stop, or living room, when it was not being used for company, was a battleground for mini sticks hockey games and tag team wrestling matches. We have always marveled at the fact that even though the room had a china cabinet with precious dishes and keepsakes, we never broke the glass panels, which is amazing considering we played very rough and tumble. Well, we rattled the dishes in the cabinet a few times, but always settled down when Mom hollered from the kitchen. The house and the farm was basic and functional. There were no paintings or tapestries adorning the walls. I remember how pleased we would be to get calendars from various businesses at the start of a new year, and we hung them all over the house. Each month, we raced to turn the page, and voila! We had a new picture on the wall. When I was in my 20s, Dad decided to fix the house so it would no longer be so drafty in the winter. Since most of my siblings were now married and living elsewhere, those of us still at home crowded into the addition, which consisted of the kitchen and 3 rooms upstairs. Dad knocked down the brick walls of the main house to rebuild. It was at this time we discovered the house did not have any insulation, just 3 layers of brick on the outside and lath and plaster on the inside. No wonder we had chills in the winter. Since the rebuild, the house is so much warmer and does not take as much wood to heat it. Before, I would have had to wear wool stockings and slippers. Now you can relax comfortably in bare feet. There have been several of my relatives who have lived in the house from time to time, and they have made their own changes to the structure. They have added things like running water and a water heater. The colors have changed inside and outside many times, and now there is an occasional plaque with inspirational sayings on the walls. The house and farm have remained in our family all these years. Even with all the changes to the house, my memories are not rooted in how plain, rustic, and chilly our house was, but more in how those very things shaped our house into a home. You see, it didn't really matter if we had conveniences to make things easier. We had a large family, and when the work was divided up, things got done quickly and efficiently. We might not have had a lot of things, but we did have a lot of family. And what could be more important than that? Mach's gut, and we'll see you next time on Amish Roots. Plain talk in a modern world.